everybody, I'm Beth. This is Bravely Being Yoga, and today we are here to do a yoga practice that's all about resolve. That could mean a lot of things to a lot of different people, but we'll break it down a little bit more in just a minute. As always, please consult your primary care physician and your mental health professional before participating in these videos, okay? So the end of the year tends to be a very reflection-heavy time, I think, for all of us. We're looking at what the year's been. We're looking at what's ahead. We're making goals. We're kind of just doing a personal overview maybe. And I think it's a really beautiful practice. And I think that sometimes we can use it as an excuse to beat ourselves up for not maybe going as far as we wanted to in the past year or meeting certain goals. And so I want to encourage you in this next few minutes that we have together to really embrace the idea of resolving to increase self-care, self-compassion, learning to practice things that are actually healthy for us. And this is something I'm working on too. I hope that you can feel, as much as we may not be in the same space, I hope you can feel for me that this really is something that I am also actively tackling in this next year as well. So I'm going to start this practice standing and we're going to work our way down. But I hope that this can feel like an organizing kind of start to a new year. And then we'll move forward from there in the coming weeks and months, okay? So we're going to actually start standing. I'm going to face the camera so you guys can see me. And again, modify as needed. This is supposed to be a practice for every person, every body, everyone in every state. If you want to just sit like I am now and participate in the whole practice sitting down, that's great too, okay? So as we get started here, maybe we start with our hands down by our sides in a kind of traditional mountain pose, as it's called. Maybe we bring our hands to the center of our bodies, maybe to this heart center, whatever feels comfortable to us. We might notice planting our feet into the floor, and maybe we float our eyes closed or maybe we leave them open, but we might allow our effort, our resolve for this few minutes to drop down to our feet as if we could feel roots moving from our feet into the ground. And that experience of being really rooted, maybe through all of those 10 toes, maybe feeling rooted through the balls of our feet, noticing what it's like for our arches to drop towards the floor and those heels really sinking, a very strong root coming out of those heels that's deeply embedded into the ground. Just noticing what that feels like in and of itself and how the rest of our body kind of stacks from there, right? Our ankles and our knees and our hip joints and our shoulders and everything kind of stacks from that really rooted place. And maybe we just stay here and breathe, not trying to manipulate or change the breath, but just, again, resolving to let it be what it is. Maybe with our next inhale, we might add some movement. So maybe as we inhale, we let those arms open up, maybe even creating a little bit of an arch in that spine, just a gentle arch. And with an exhale, maybe we come back to the center. We could try that a few more times as we inhale. Maybe those arms open up. And as we exhale, back to center. With a big inhale, we open all the way up. And we exhale back to center. Maybe we try one or two more if that feels great. Or maybe we just stay in the stillness and notice what it's like to come back to that very rooted position. That mountain pose where our feet are really sinking into the floor with a softening. Maybe with our next inhale, we might take our arms all the way up above our head, pairing our movement with our breath. And on that next exhale, we might actually sink those hips back into a chair pose. As we're moving into this chair pose, we're going to allow our hips to sink back, and we're going to keep a nice, long, neutral spine. And we might feel some fast heat and sensation there in our legs, which is great. Maybe we experience the resolve of keeping our focus on our feet and our breath instead of becoming overwhelmed by sensations in our legs. Maybe we even can tap into feeling as if a string is pulling us from our head all the way through our tailbone. Experiencing some nice length there. And maybe on that next inhale, we kind of reorient ourselves back to that nice neutral standing mountain pose, okay? You're doing great so far, so good. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna do a little bit more warming up of our bodies. So we're actually gonna add a little bit of balance in here. If it feels better to put your hands on your hips, you can try that, or you can just leave your hands down by your side. We're just gonna gently circle our ankles. And this might create a little bit of instability. You can see me rocking and rolling over here. Maybe this is the first time you stood on one foot today. It might be for me. So maybe just a few gentle circles back and forth each way, and then maybe we switch sides. Noticing it and feeling it as if we were playing, as opposed to feeling frustration about how challenging it is to balance, right? Noticing what it feels like when we do find that balance in our bodies. It's pretty cool. It's pretty rewarding, right? Now we're going to take our wrists. Same thing, right? Maybe some gentle circles. We want to move both directions, right? If you experience any pain, really slow it down. Make the movement smaller. We don't want to push or force our bodies into anything. So if it creates a lot of popping, we just want to move gently in the range of motion that is comfortable. We're not trying to create or force anything that's even close to discomfort, right? This should be a practice that feels good. We're going to take our chin next, maybe, and we drop it down towards the floor. And maybe we do some little half circles. Like we're drawing half circles with our nose from side to side. Maybe as we're drawing those half circles, we notice again that rooted sensation. Moving from our feet down into the floor. And as we feel ready, maybe we straighten that head back up. Really tapping into that core as it radiates out and noticing what our bodies feel like now. Maybe they feel a little bit more awake, maybe a little bit tingly. We're going to come to the front edge of our mat, and we're going to move into a little bit more of a flow as we kind of approach the mat, all right? So as we are preparing to start moving in a little bit more of a vigorous way, some bigger movements, I guess, we want to maintain that rooted feeling and experience a resolve to care for ourselves in this practice. So if at any point anything doesn't feel great, we're going to maybe back off from it, maybe not participate at all, or maybe we just stay with the sensation and notice what the feeling is that's attached to that sensation. So we're going to actually take one of our legs. I'm going to start with my left leg so you guys can see. We might just kind of pump that heel just a little bit, feeling what that feels like in our knee and our ankle if it feels great. And as we feel ready, we might bring that left foot, for me, gently back behind us. We're going to keep a nice soft bend in that right foot. And that left foot is going to be lengthening behind us with our toes going out on a diagonal to the diagonal corners of our space, okay? And as we are kind of planting and rooting ourselves here in Warrior One, we might bring those arms up above our head. If that feels strong and powerful and awesome. If it doesn't feel awesome for any reason for our shoulder joints, as always, we can bring our hands back down by our sides. And as we notice that rooted sensation through our feet, how planted we are in the present moment, we might notice how it's different with that back edge of that left foot lengthening in towards the floor. That little bit of stretch and length that's being created on the outside of our left leg. Maybe with each inhale, we can soften our shoulders, engaging our core, really creating some length and space in that left side. And that length that continues to drive down in towards the floor through those roots, right? That root system is supporting us so that we can then lengthen with those arms reaching towards the sky. When we feel nice and long and strong, we might come back, stepping that left foot back to a neutral spine, neutral feet, and we're going to try the other side. So we might start with that pumping a little bit of that right ankle, noticing what it feels like to really press that ball of that right foot into the floor. I know I'm focusing a lot on those roots and that connection to the floor, but for me, and again, this is my experience, feeling resolved to stay present in the moment and to really be with myself and experience myself in a gentle and kind way means that I have to get rooted first. So we're going to take that right foot back. Again, we're stepping it to that nice diagonal with those toes pointing towards the diagonal of our space. We're keeping that left foot nice and rooted there in the front. If it feels great, we leave our hands down by our sides, or maybe we float them all the way up. And we're going to experience this on this side as well, experiencing the length now in the right side of our foot, the right side of our leg, moving up from that shin, really experiencing that rotation in that right hip while we keep ourselves squared off towards the front of our mat. Feeling those roots, how our tree, our system of roots keeps us grounded even as we reach up, as we reach forward, as we reach out. Maybe lengthening the front of our body so that we can create some space in that right hip. Noticing if we're holding our breath, maybe exhaling and softening those shoulder blades down our spine. And again, when we feel long and strong and ready on this side, we might come back to that neutral spine. Maybe we kind of wiggle those fingers and toes. I know it doesn't seem very much like typical yoga, but again, this is a little bit of a different type of practice that we're doing here at Bravely Being. We're really trying to get in touch with ourselves. As we experience the emotion, we experience the physical sensation, so sometimes we gotta just shake it off, right? So maybe we come back when we're ready to this neutral spine. We're gonna take ourselves down towards the floor very gently and very safely. If you need any supports, feel free. We might inhale those arms all the way up. And as we exhale, we might swan dive ourselves down with a nice long straight spine and soft knees. If we need some support like a chair, a bolster, some blankets, maybe we use some support, maybe we support ourselves on our own legs, or maybe we float all the way down to the floor. On that next inhale, maybe we come halfway up, feeling some length in that spine. And with that next exhale, we come all the way back down to the floor. We're going to fold one knee under and then the other. And we'll make some adjustments so that we can come to a nice neutral spine here. So we're going to lengthen from our tailbone all the way to our head, making sure that those hands are underneath our shoulders. Those elbows are not locked, right? And as we feel ready, maybe we drop that belly down towards the floor, creating a nice arch in that spine with an inhale, and when we exhale, we kind of press that air out as we curl our spine up towards the ceiling. Maybe a couple more here. A nice inhale with some really amazing length moving through our spine. As much as we can, we let the breath guide the movement instead of the breath being an afterthought. Maybe one more time, a nice inhale, creating some great movement, and some exhale, leading our spine to curve once more before we come back to a nice neutral spine. We're going to do like my favorite twist ever, or one of them. We're going to inhale that right hand all the way up to the ceiling. Again, if at any point this feels uncomfortable, feel free to stop or to modify. We're going to thread the needle. We're going to move that right hand through down towards the floor. Again, if this is not comfortable, feel free to make the movement smaller or to just stay with that cat and cow. Otherwise, we're going to rest for a couple more breaths with that right arm lengthening towards the floor. You can even lengthen the opposite arm out in front of you. As we feel ready to come back to a neutral spine, we might pull that left hand in. We might lengthen that right hand up to the ceiling one more time. And then we can switch sides. So we can lengthen that left leg, the left arm, up towards the ceiling. And then we'll thread the needle through that right side, coming down towards the floor. Maybe we lengthen that right arm out in front of us. Again, if this feels too intense, we can always back off. Otherwise, maybe we just notice what it feels like in our bodies to allow that twist in our spine. Noticing how our body starts to soften. As we're ready, maybe we bring that right hand back in and uncurl ourselves. As we get back to this neutral position, we might take those knees out towards the outer corners of our mat here. We might put some supports under us if we need it. Otherwise, maybe we all come into this nice, long, extended child's pose. If this is too much for our knee joint or our hips, we also can place any supports necessary under our hips, or we can put blankets under our knees. And now as we start to lower ourselves further and further into the floor, maybe we can notice where our root system is now. If we experience this pose as a very restful one, which I certainly do, maybe we consider what it's like to resolve to make some changes that are needed so that we feel this kind of rest or this kind of connection more often. Maybe it's a matter of 5 minutes a day. Maybe it's just trying to fit an extra couple of hours a week into our schedules to rest, whether we're resting by participating in this practice or whether we're going for a walk, reading a good book. As we feel ready, let's walk those hands back up. We're going to sit down on one hip and swing our legs round, okay? And as we feel ready to lower ourselves down to the floor, we might hold on to one leg like a little lever and bring ourselves all the way down. Oh yeah. I don't know about you, but my hips and my lower back just went, and they tightened and then they kind of released. So maybe a little windshield wiper action with our legs, and maybe as we feel ready, we bring those knees into our chest. We keep these practices short in the hope that it will help insert a little bit more awareness and relaxation into your day, into your busy life when you haven't had an opportunity to go anywhere else. You're there in the house. But I really also hope that you can just take some of these concepts and use them in your everyday life, no matter where you are. As we feel ready, we're going to come into our last restful pose. Typically that means Shavasana, which is laying on our backs. Maybe we add some supports. Maybe laying on our back feels very vulnerable, and so in that case, it's a great idea to lay on your side or to lay on your stomach. That can feel a lot safer and more restful. If you have some blankets nearby, you might take some blankets or pillows and put them under your knees. I'm going to do that today. A little extra support there. And as we soften once more and maybe experience feeling rooted throughout our whole body, allowing that root system that was connected to our feet to now hold us and anchor us throughout our whole system. Maybe we float our minds back to this idea of resolve. Been thinking about this so much because I see and I hear about all of these New Year's resolutions, which I'm obviously not knocking that. I think it's great. We all want to be healthier and happier and experience more in our lives. I would never discourage someone from pursuing a New Year's resolution, whether it lasts for a week or a month or the whole year. But I think we often miss the boat on resolving to care for ourselves more. Because it's cheesy, but it's true that if we are not okay, we can't help anybody else. If we are not centered and rooted, we are not able to care for other people the way we might want to. And so I just encourage you in this moment, as you allow your body to relax, that maybe part of your resolve moving into this next year can be about greater self-compassion, really being kind and gentle to yourself, no matter what new goals you have, appreciating the fact that you are where you are now and that you've gotten to this place, that you've had the strength to move through hard stuff to get here. And when we feel ready, never feels long enough, but as we're ready, we might wiggle those fingers and toes, maybe adding a couple of ankle circles or wrist circles like we had earlier. And to sit up, we'll roll ourselves over to one side instead of sitting straight up. It's a little better for our spines, coming to a nice, comfortable seated position. So that's it today, my friends. I hope that your start to the new year is amazing. I hope that it's restful. I hope that it's exciting. I hope that it's safe. And sorry, I'm really looking forward to all of the new stuff that 2019 has to bring. I think that it's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be wonderful. And if all else fails, we know that we can come back to this. We can get ourselves grounded and we can face each day as it comes. So, namaste. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you really soon, okay?